welcome anyone who is just training in now. We're just talking about editing in week 2 of Movie Magic. So I'll get back to where we were. Yeah, so the software that we're using to edit, I mean, it's very easy to use, and even the stuff you get on your phone is quite easy to use. But compared to what was available when they were making classic movies like Star Wars and things like that, it's quite advanced technology, and anyone can use it. So there's a big difference in what you need to know to be an editor today compared to back then. Cool. So editing is part of the post-production process, which just means it's the work that happens after you film. So in that, you've got things like VFX and people who do sound effects and add all of the sound editing. So that's all post-production that happens afterwards. And when you watch a big movie, like, a big Marvel Avengers kind of movie, you'll watch the credits and see hundreds of names scrolling past. A lot of those people will be editors or not necessarily editors, sorry, they'll be working in post-production, and they'll all be doing very small specific jobs as part of a bigger team to make all of those things happen. So yeah, it's a very specialized kind of area of working in film. But I quite enjoy editing, and hopefully you get to enjoy trying out Resolve today. Cool. So, oh, okay, sorry, I have just reading the chat now. Oh, no, that's horrible. Sorry to hear. Yeah, well, feel free to send me an email later if you want to arrange something. We can talk about stuff like that. We can discuss it later if you'd like. Yeah, so this editing program that we're going to use is called a non-linear editor, which means that at any point you can go back to an earlier point of the film and add things to it. That's something that you wouldn't have been able to do when you were editing on, not necessarily on film, but when, if you're making a film in the 80s, you would have used tape. And you wouldn't have been able to go back and add things. Once it was on there, it was on there, and you could write over the top of it, but you couldn't go back and add something in because it would write over what was already there. So that's another thing that we're very lucky to have in editing programs. But that's a brief history of it. Basically, people have been editing on the computers since the 90s, and since then it's kind of no one's looked back because it's just so convenient. So. Yeah, before we go on to Resolve, I was just wondering if anyone has any questions or comments before we get started. If you've got anything that you'd like to know during the demo of Resolve, like if you want me to go back over anything, or if I need to go slow or anything, just let me know in the chat, and I'll be able to do that for you. Yeah, if you need. Great. Okay, so. If no one's, feel free to write in the chat at any time if you've got any questions. If you're still typing, that's fine. So now DaVinci Resolve is a program made by an Australian company called Blackmagic Design. So they're a company that makes programs and cameras mostly, and they make a bit of other equipment as well. Yep. So if you've been to KC Technical in person, you'll see our TV studio. We've got a lot of their cameras and a lot of their other video gear too in our studio. So keep an eye out for that. You'll spot their logo all over the place. But it started off as a program for color grading, which is kind of like Photoshop, but for video. And yeah, it was a really powerful tool that was used by a lot of professionals. And DaVinci, the name DaVinci has been used for their software since the 1980s, but this program came around in the mid-2000s, I think. So yeah, it was made by a company in Florida and then bought by Blackmagic, the Australian company, in 2010. So when they bought it, it had about 100 users, which might not seem like a lot, but if those are all really professional people who are paying a lot of money, then that's a decent number for expensive software. But after they bought it, they wanted to make it free for people who are just learning. And they also added a lot of features, video editing and other things as well. So it became a really good video editing program. So now, 10 years later, they have a bit over 2 million people using it, and that's just the free version of it. A lot of people use it as an alternative to Premiere Pro, which is another big popular video editor. I use it instead of that. I think it's better, but you know, a lot of people use it because it's free as well. So yeah, I'm going to open up Resolve now, and I'm going to step through the process of editing your film. So I'm going to go over copying footage, importing it, editing it, doing some color work, and then exporting it to upload as well. So I'm going to open that up now, and let me know again if you need me to slow down or yeah, do anything differently. All right, share screen. It's going to stop this screen share, but it'll just come up with this computer screen here, screen 2. Okay, cool.
Ziggy, when you're just looking at it, someone just asked why you prefer it. What's the reason for preferring it over Premiere Pro?
That's a good question. Yeah, so I prefer it because one, it's free. Premiere Pro, if you want the whole suite of Adobe software, sometimes you can get it through your school. So it might not be a problem for you, but usually it's about $55 a month, which is ridiculously expensive. Premiere Pro has more features. Well, I would actually say that DaVinci might have a few more features than Premiere. There's a lot more built into it. Not necessarily the free version, but the paid version of DaVinci Resolve definitely has more features than Premiere. Premiere is just a little bit more common. It's a little bit easier to use. So some people, you know, most people who work in the industry know how to use it because it's kind of just what everyone uses. But I think you'll find in the last year or two, a lot of people have switched over to Resolve because it's cheaper and because it can do everything in one program. Instead of needing a program for sound and a program for color and then Premiere for editing, you can now do all of those in one with Resolve. You can even do VFX in Resolve too, but it's a little bit complicated, and not even I have used that feature. So it's very specialized, but it does everything. Like if you're a specialist in sound, you can use Resolve. If you're a specialist in color, you can use Resolve. So whereas Premiere, if you wanted to do some of that stuff, you would probably need to use another program because it's a little bit more basic in those areas. So that's why I use it, because I think, yeah, it's a really good alternative. And it's cheaper, which is always a bonus. So before I actually open Resolve, I'm going to quickly show you how I'd go about importing my footage. So I'll just make a folder. Right, so I'm going to make a folder on my desktop, just a blank folder over here. I'm going to call it new folder. Is it going to show up over there? No, it's not. It's going to show up on the screen. One sec, I'll just quickly. Right, so I'll make a new folder on this screen, and I'm going to call this. Sorry, I'm just going to move this so I can see a bit better. I'm going to call this. The film I recorded this week was called The Mug, which I was given a script and asked to make it like a sitcom. So like a Seinfeld kind of TV show. So I'll show you how I did that later. But we've got this folder called The Mug, which is the name of the script. And I'm going to open that up. It's an empty folder. So, you know, every project starts with an empty folder. I'm going to make a new folder inside of this called footage. And I like writing everything in caps because it's kind of easier to see for me. I think it is a bit nicer to read, but that's fine if you want to write it however you want. So in your footage folder, you'll go, love Seinfeld, yeah, thanks. Good show. I actually haven't watched much of it, but for this project, I watched some. So I've got my camera and I'm going to plug it in with a cable and you'll see it come up on the side. All right. And I'm assuming you'll be doing this with phones, so you can plug in your phone and there we go, it's just showed up. And then you can copy footage over. So we'll go to the folder of the camera, and then I'm just you'll navigate to the folder. It'll be different on every camera where your footage is. And I've got a few projects on here. So I'm just looking for the one that I got for this, which starts here. I can look at the thumbnails and find out. And it goes all the way down there. So I'm going to grab that just drag it into footage. And that's going to take a minute, but I've already got it on my computer, so that doesn't really matter. This is the second time I've copied it. And then we're also going to make another folder, which I'll call assets. And this will be things like sound effects and different logos and stuff like that. And as you go on, you can add more like music or things like that, whatever you'd like. I'll add a music one now. And this just helps you stay organized. So if you know you need your footage, you can look in there. But yeah, that's all you need right now. So I'm going to go ahead and open Resolve. And hopefully I can bring it over onto this screen. Sometimes it's a bit slow to open. All right, it's just opening now, and then I'll drag it over. So you might be on DaVinci Resolve 16 or 17. They've just released the beta test of 17. So if you've downloaded that one, that's fine. It might just look a little bit different, but there's no problem with that. Feel free to, yeah, you should still be able to follow along. Some of the icons just might be a little bit slightly different looking, but that should be fine. All right, it's just loading up now. Sometimes it takes a while. Here we go. It's probably because I'm screen sharing actually. So that's coming along. And now this footage looks like it's copied over as well. So I'll close this. 73, yeah. It's all done. Cool, so I'll close that. All right, so we've got Resolve here, and it might look like this. View, that's fine. I'm just gonna open Untitled Project. And bring that over here. All right, so this is the first thing you're gonna see. This is called the cut page, but we'll move out of this in a second. The way Resolve works is it's split into 7 different pages. So you have media, which is where you import all of your video files. Let me just switch this to, how do I move the Zoom thing? There we go. I'm gonna switch this to single screen. There we go. So this is where you organize all of your video files. You can copy stuff from your drives or any stuff you have plugged in, any USBs. Cut is used for very quickly editing clips together. Edit is used for more intentional editing, so it'll be easy to do finer details in your final edit in here. Fusion, we won't worry about today. We probably won't worry about cut either. Fusion is for VFX, and it's a bit complicated, so I've never really used it, and you probably don't need to either. Color, this is where you do all of your color grading, so changing the way your image looks. Fairlight, this is made for sound, but you don't really need to know how to use this. And Deliver is where you export your final file. Cool, so I'm gonna start off in media, and we're gonna navigate to my desktop, and I'm gonna just look for that folder called The Mug, and then we'll go to footage. And in here, once it loads, I'll be able to see all of my footage for this project. So I'm going to select that all and drag it. And if it asks, these clips have a different frame rate than the current project, just click change. Make sure if you click don't change, you'll have to undo the copy and do it again and click change. Just because if it's a different frame rate, it's going to look really funny. So most of these shots I've got 2 or 3 takes of. Which is fine. I'm just going to turn my sound on and put a headphone ear on, just so I can hear what's going on. Join with computer audio. And let's see if I can play a clip. I'll get the script up too. I'll see if I can play a clip if you can hear it. Can you hear? Okay, this is playing back really slowly because I'm screen sharing. So I'm just going to try and do this and see if it runs a bit smoother. Okay, that's going to be a problem. Could you hear that? No. Okay, Caleb says no. I'm just going to try. Here we go. What's that one? Muted. No more. computer audio. Andrew, if you've, or Cara, share computer sound, there it is. What about now?
Is that coffee I smell?
Yes, okay, hopefully you can't hear it twice because it is playing through my speakers too on that screen. Actually, I can probably just turn the sound off here. Oh, mute, there we go. That's what I want. Cool, all right, that should be fine now. Cool, so this one is based off a short script called The Mug, which someone wrote. I'll bring that over here. It's basically someone walks into a kitchen, makes themselves a cup of coffee because they can't find any tea, and then their housemate comes home and they've gone out and bought tea, and then they can't find their mug. So it's nothing exciting, but I thought I'd take a boring script and make it into a Seinfeld kind of style. So the first thing I'll do is I've got my clips here on my edit page, and you can close this panel here with that one. And I'll look at the first line. The first line is Melanie walks around in her kitchen holding a mug. She then pulls out a chair and sits down just as Sam enters holding a packet of tea. So I'll go for the second take because I already know it's the better one. These are things that you'll remember if you get your footage. So now when you double click it, it opens up on here. You can scroll through it however you need to. And then when you're ready, you can push I on your keyboard, the letter I, and it will set the in point. And then you can push O where you want the clip to end. That's where I want it to end. And then when you click and drag, it'll drag down onto this timeline. It's just taking a second. There we go. And if you don't have a timeline there, like I didn't, it'll make a new one for you. Oh, it's probably playing through here, actually. That might be why I'm hearing it twice. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's playing back really slowly. Apologies for that. That's just because my computer's not handling playing high quality footage at the same time as screen recording. So I'll do that with all of my clips. I won't do that now because it'll obviously take too long. But then this is where Sam pops in and goes, "Is that coffee I smell?" And that will say starts there, and I can't really see, but it's not playing back for me, but hopefully that's...
Is that coffee I smell?
Cool. So then I'll drag that clip in next, then I'll go to the next one, and I know that this was the last take I got, so it's probably the best one. And I won't spend the time figuring out exactly where the right stuff is now, but I'm going to guess it's probably about there. All right, so once we've got those clips, we go in and out and drag them down. We'll have a timeline that looks like this. And these are actually two different rooms. Remember, I can't remember if I said the other night, but you can record in two different spots and make it look like people are talking to each other. These two spots where she looks at him and then he pops his head in and then talks and she responds back. Those are two different spots. So yeah, that's one of those kind of camera tricks where, because they're looking left to right or right to left, it lines up and looks like they're talking to each other, even though they're not. So then she says, "I couldn't find any tea."
I couldn't find any tea.
And yep, we'll just use these three clips as an example, but you're going to have more for your whole film here. And now they're on the timeline. If you want to make changes, we can click and grab the end of it and drag it in and out. We can click and grab the track and move it however we want. And we can do that to kind of adjust things that we like. If I wanted this clip to start here, see how it cuts out the sound? And you can zoom in with this button here. Or zoom out, you can click and drag. The other way you can zoom, if you're on a scroll wheel, so on a mouse, you can hold down Alt on your keyboard and scroll in and out, which is how I usually do it. And if I do anything in here and I forget to explain what it is, then please let me know in the chat and I'll explain it. So yeah, the problem is now is see how it cuts off the audio at the start? That's going to be an issue. So if we play it back, we miss the start of the line. So see this link here? If you click that, it'll go gray, so it's not selected anymore. This means that you can edit the video and the audio separately from each other. So if I drag this video clip, see how it says +104? That means it's 1 second behind the video. That means if I play it back now, you hear the audio, but see her speaking too late. So I can drag that out there if I wanted to.
I couldn't find any teeth.
But now, if I turn it back on, if I drag it over here, it's going to cut off the start of that clip. So that's not what we want. So what I can do is I can actually grab that audio track and, sorry, that's going to do both of them. If I grab that audio track and drag it down, it makes what's called a new track. So you want to make sure it's lined up. So you can make sure it's lined up. If you hold shift, it won't let you kind of put them out of line. So just hold shift and drag. Otherwise, you have to make sure that it's lined up properly still. And now if I select them both with that one there and drag it, I can...
Coffee I smell?
I couldn't find any teeth.
That's obviously too quick, but it might work better for you if you want people talking over each other or something like that. You can do it that way. And I'll bring that over a bit.
Smell? I couldn't find any teeth.
So that might be a good way to do a back and forth conversation. That's kind of a little editing trick you can use. And yeah, you can do that as little or as much as you want. And you'll notice as well, when I grab a clip, see how it kind of clicks onto the next one and those lines come up? That's called snapping. And sometimes you might not want that. If you want to make an adjustment, if you zoom in really far, and I want to get rid of just one frame, it's really hard because it always clicks to the, where this is called a playhead. It always clicks to where my playhead is. So if I want to turn that off, it's one of these buttons here again. It's just the magnet. So I'll get rid of, turn off that magnet, and all of a sudden it doesn't click to everything else again. I can move it by as little or by as much as I want, which is one frame at this point in time. So that's what the magnet does, and that's what the link does. I'm just going to check what else we won't go over. So if I want to add a cut to this now, if I decide that I want to cut off the end of it, instead of going like this, maybe I want to make it 2 different tracks. That might be an easier way of saying it. If I look at these tools here, the only ones you really need to know right now are selection and blade edit. So if I click blade edit, if I click on a track, it's going to cut it into 2 different clips. So if I do that, and now it's all cut up, and if I go back to this one, I can then drag these however I want. So if I want to go back to him, I'll get rid of some of those edits. If I want to go back to him afterwards, I can drag this over there and then drag it out more if I wanted to. That's how you can do that. And actually, I'll show you this one as well. This is called the trim edit mode. If you click on this, what it's going to do is if you click and drag, it's going to keep the same timing. Is there a green screen feature? Yep, no, I'll show you that soon. If you click and drag this, it's going to move the clip, but not change the timing. So if I go, oh, I want him to open the door like a little bit later, I can just grab it and move it a little bit to the right. So now it starts a bit earlier. So that moves the clip around, and it just saves you from having to, you know, make it longer on one side and then shorter on the other. It's a bit quicker. So that's called the trim edit mode, which you might not need to use, but if you want to, you can. So that's all you really need to know with how to cut clips and stuff like that. You can also add transitions. So if I click Effects Library, it's going to open up this box down the bottom, and I've got my toolbox here, and I want video transitions. So there's a lot of different transitions here that you can use, but the basic one, which is just a fade, is called a cross dissolve. So if I drag a cross dissolve onto these clips, now it puts this transition on here. I play
Is that coffee I
so that's probably the only one you really need to know, but you can have fun with these and do something like a star shape. If I do this, it's going to look a bit different. Check this out.
I couldn't find any teeth.
Stuff like that. There's a lot of different ones you can play around with. I recommend just trying them out and seeing what they do. And then if you don't like them, you can just click on them. You have to, it's kind of hard to click sometimes. You have to click kind of towards the top and not in the middle. and then you can just hit delete on your keyboard and it will get rid of it. So that's why I just try them out and then learn what they do, and then you can get rid of them if you don't like them. So now if I go...
Got a question in the chat there, Ziggy, if you saw from Caleb about putting videos over the top of each other.
Yes, you can, Caleb. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Actually, I'll show you now. So you know how you can do this with the audio tracks where you can move things down so they'll go over each other? You can do that with video as well. So if I want to move this up, I can then drag the clip out as well. So the problem is because it's on top, basically whatever's on top you'll see first. So it's like looking top down, and because this clip's on top, I can't see the other one. So there's a few things you can do. One of the common ones people will do is called split screen. So what I'll do is I'll get my razor edit tool, or my blade edit, make a cut there. So it's now two separate clips. And what that means is if I click this one, I can now make that only take up half of the screen. And this one, all these tools up the top, these are different windows and you can open and close them at any time. So media pool is just that list of clips that we imported. Effects library is this one on the left. And what we want is we want one called inspector. So if I click inspector, it's going to open on the right side. It's going to hide my other video as well, so it doesn't take up too much space on my screen. You can use this program across two screens if you have access to two, but it works on one fine as well. So what I want to do is I want to make it so it only takes up half the screen. And to do that, I'm going to use something called crop. So I could crop a photo. I can now crop this picture with left or right or top or bottom. And let's say I get it somewhere I don't want it. I can just either drag it all the way back to the start, or if it's another setting and I can't remember where the start was, like maybe position or something. Oh, position's in the middle. I don't know. If you see something you can't remember, just click the reset button on the side. And you can also do softness, which will blur it on the edges. You can blur it inwards or outwards. I'm just going to reset that. Yep, no worries. So once you've got this, you can then adjust the crop, and then you can move the position of it, or you can zoom it in, and you can, move it up and down with that. You can rotate it as well if you'd like. So yeah, you can do all of that with it too. So let's say we want to do a green screen. We don't have any green in this, but I can show you with red. I'm going to go back to my effects library, and I'm just going to type key. Is it going to have anything? It might not have it in here. Let's have a look. Okay, yeah, it's not going to let me do it in the edit page, but I'll show you how to do it in the color page soon. So we can have two clips together, and then when it gets to that cut, it'll go back to what it was before. Great. And also with audio, if I want it to fade in, see this little white tab up the top? I can click and drag that and it will fade. So that's kind of all you need to know in here. You can also add sound effects in. So I'll show you later. If you've got an audio clip that's just like an MP3 file, you can drag it in and it'll work like one of these just without any video, which is fine too. Or any music, you can do it the same way. And I'll just quickly show you as well. If you want this clip to move, you might want to, I can make it move from left to right or something. See this button here? That's called the keyframe button. So I'll go to the very end of the clip, like here, and click that, and it will make a new keyframe. And it goes at this frame, I want it to be set to that. And I'll change position as well. And then if I go back to the start, I can now adjust it. And I'll scale it down a bit. I can adjust it, and the keyframes automatically make new ones. So if it's got an orange dot next to it, it will automatically update it. So now if I turn off my snap, I can play it smoothly. So now it animates when I want it to. You don't have to worry too much about doing that. But let's say I move it here, and then it does some weird motion because it's got 3 keyframes. I can go back to another keyframe just with these buttons, up or down to move backwards and forwards. And if I click it, it gets rid of that keyframe. So now it'll go smoothly and it won't go like 1, 2, 3. It'll just go 1 through to 2. You can do that. Like, you can edit it however you want though for that to work. Cool. Okay, so that's everything in editing, in edit that we want. You can add sound effects as well. I already mentioned that, but yeah, you can just drag in audio clips. And if you go to your media pool and select a clip, I have to close my inspector yet. If I just want the audio of that bit, see how I've got video and audio? So when I drag it down, it does both, or I can just drag audio and it will bring the audio of that clip too, so I don't get the video too. So it's up to you if you'd like to do that. But yeah, that's how you use these things. Oh, sorry, there's one more thing I was going to show you, which was how to add titles. So under Toolbox, you've got titles here. And if you want text, just drag the one that says text, and it looks really big, so you can put it on top of the other ones, and then you can close that. You have to go back over to the inspector. The inspector is where you change the settings for everything. And now I've got my text here, so I can click title, I can type in mug, and I can choose a font. The font thing's not very friendly. It doesn't show you what font you've got. But I think you can type it and it will come up. So if I type Courier, it'll take me to CO Courier. There we go, I've got Courier New. And I can go bold. I can change the size of it. And that's probably all you need to know. You can change the alignment too. And you can also change the position and zoom and rotation too. And as always, those have keyframes, so you can animate them. You can also drag this from side to side. And I'll quickly show you too, with keyframes, if you click that one on the bottom right, when you go on a certain property, you should be able to see it on the on that little line there. I probably won't go over that too much. So yeah, it's not going to show up right now because I'm just doing it on here. So maybe don't worry about that one. Okay, so we're going to go to color. This is where we do our green screen and our color. You'll see this is very kind of bland looking, and I'll fix that. I'll fix that now. So actually, I'll do green screen first. If you select a clip like this, you can select which clip you're on. And clips over the top of each other will show up separately on here as well. Just keep that in mind. And if there's a cut between them, there'll be two separate clips. But if I want green screen, what I have to do this, cool. If you right click, this one is a bit more complicated, so you might have to Google this or email me if you have issues. I'm just going to remove that. There we go. You have to right click and go add alpha output. So this just means add where I can see and where I can't see. So once you do that, you'll see a little blue dot. That's the part you have to remember. But now what you do is you go to this eyedropper, which is like a selector, and I can just click on the image, what I don't want to get, and I click and drag over all of the red stuff, and it will select all of the red. You can kind of see on there that it's only showing the red stuff now. And see that blue one, I just grab that and I drag it onto there. Now you'll see that that is not what I want. That's going to get rid of everything else. So I have to go over to this one called key. So once you've got your stuff selected, you go over to key, and then you click this red one there, sorry, key output. You click this black and white circle and a square, and if you click that, it'll flip. So now that doesn't look very good because it's not a green screen, it's a red one. Now if I go back to edit, I can put another clip underneath this. So if I grab all of these, I can click and drag and then hold shift and drag it up, and then put another clip underneath it. So let's say I just want the video. I'll just drag the video down. And now you can do this with an image or whatever you want, but you'll see that this is a bit messy. It's all very chaotic at the moment, but you'll see that underneath the red, you've got the video clip that we put here. So that's how you do a green screen. It's a bit, it's a few steps, but feel free to email me and I'll write them down for you if you'd like. And then the other thing we can do in color, I'll just quickly go over, is contrast. So this is going to make the bright bits brighter and the dark bits darker. I'm just going to do it on here so I can see on the screen what that looks like for you guys. Yep, so that's going to make the bright things brighter, dark things darker, and saturation is called sat. So we can drag that up and it'll add more color to everything. And I can also make the bright bits brighter with this wheel here. This might look different if you're in 17. but sorry, I'll go back. This is what you'll see here. It'll look like this. So yeah, if you grab this wheel and slide it up, it's going to make the bright things brighter. And if you grab this one, it's going to make just the dark things darker, whereas contrast does both. And gamma does what's in the middle. So it makes the kind of gray bits brighter or the gray bits darker without adjusting the white parts and the black parts. And offset does the whole thing. So you can play around with these what you want, but remember offset is everything. Gain is the bright stuff. Gamma is the middle, and then lift is the dark. And then you can also do color. So if I want to make everything a bit blue, I can drag everything on offset towards blue or red or purple or green or yellow, however I want. And then I can make the bright stuff purple or green or blue. And then the gray stuff, I could make whatever color I want. And I can make the dark stuff a certain color. And feel free, see these 3 dots, you don't have to try this, but feel free to move between this one and the one on the very right. So that's how they do CSI Miami. Yeah, a very complicated process, but that's this. These log, this is called log, whereas before we were on primary's wheels. Log will do this, but you'll have a little bit more control. So you can kind of do just the bright stuff without affecting anything else, whereas the other one will affect the other stuff a little bit too. So I recommend using log, but if you forget, that's fine. They do slightly different things, but they'll still work. So that's how you do your color. And of course, if you want black and white, you just take your saturation and put it all the way down to 0. And now you've got black and white, and you can still make things brighter and darker if you'd like. So that's probably a little bit advanced. You don't have to do that in your films if you don't want to, but you've got the ability to if you'd like. So that's kind of everything that you'll need in the color page. So now you've done your edit, you've done your color, and you'll do this for each clip, which might take a while, but you can do that if you want. And I'll quickly show you how to copy it. If you right click on your video and click, or actually we'll just show you here. If you go Control C, if you click this thing up here, this is called a node. Don't worry about using these yet, but if you click it and go Control C and then go to your other video clip 2, you can then you can click the node and go Control V, and you'll be able to copy it over. So if you want to copy and paste what your footage looks like, then that might help. If you've got a node here that you're using for green screen, you won't be able to do the green screen and then copy it. You'll have to do the green screen afterwards. But that's how that does work. If you
Is that coffee I smell?
I couldn't find any tea.
So this is obviously not a very good edit, but it's just I'm showing you more the examples of how you can do all these things. So once you're done, you can skip Fairlight. Fairlight's for sound effects and stuff like that, but you can do that in edit too. You go deliver, and then you'll click, if you want YouTube, you can click YouTube. If you want Vimeo, you can click Vimeo. It's up to you. And you choose your file name. I'm going to go YouTube. I'm going to call this mug. And then location, you can just click browse. And I'm going to put this in that folder I made called mug. I'm going to make a new folder called exports. This is where I put all of my output videos. Now, if I click save, it'll be listed on there. I recommend after every export you do, just put a number. So this is going to be 01, because if I go back after I export it and make a change, I'll call it 02 and then 03 and 04. And that way I always know which one I'm working on, and I don't accidentally upload an old version. So that's always very handy to put a number at the end. Some people will write final. I don't think that's a good idea because you write final and then if you want to change something, it's too late. So once you've done that, you go YouTube, the mug, location, you go add to render queue, and then you can click start render and it will render that file for you and make it into a video file on your desktop. So that'll just take a few seconds. Oh, and I'll quickly show you how to change the volume as well, because if you've got a sound effect that's too loud, it's a good idea to make sure the sound effects are a little bit quieter than you think they should be, because otherwise they might be too loud. Sound Bible is good. Yep. Any good websites you can recommend for sound effects? Yeah, I've used YouTube a lot, and I just go YouTube to MP3. But there's, if you Google sound effects library, there'll be a ton on there. And there's also music on YouTube you can use too. I'll just quickly show you with sound effects if they're too loud. Just imagine this is one here. We go back to that inspector, but this time, because we're on audio, I click this clip, we get both of them. Yeah, there we go. Now we're on audio, so we have video where we can move clips around. We can go to audio, and now we can adjust the volume as well. We can also adjust the pan, which is like on the left, on the right, and adjusts where it is. So you can make clips louder or quieter. That's all you really need to know there. So that's everything for DaVinci. In DaVinci Resolve that you need to know. And once you're done that, once you've done your render, you'll be back on your folder. You've got exports, and there you go. You've got the mug01.mov, and you can upload that to YouTube. You just go on YouTube and then click upload, and you can just drag it on there, and it will walk you through how to upload once that's all done. So that's everything for Resolve today. If anyone has any questions, feel free to email me or write them in chat. I'm just conscious of time. I don't want to spend too long going over Resolve now, because that was already longer than I was expecting on going. Andrew, did you want to do a short demo on phone editing still?
Yeah, I probably could. Is there anyone actually editing, you think, on the phone? Anyone actually planning to edit on the phone?
Okay, yeah, if anyone was planning on editing this on their phone, please just write in chat and we'll run you through how to do that. I was gonna say, feel free to edit on your, when I add effects, shows load it smoothly. Yep, that's a good question, Sebastian. It is a very, as you could tell, my computer was struggling. Even when I'm not screen sharing, it struggles a lot sometimes. So what you do is you look at all these clips up the top, and there's a lot of stuff here that looks very confusing, but you just go to playback, and then proxy mode, and just put it on quarter resolution. So if you, yeah, I'll write that down in chat. You go playback, I'll go top panel, playback, proxy mode, quarter. That's going to make it play quicker. It won't look as good, but when you render it, it will be fine. Yeah, and then maybe just copy and paste that or screenshot that little instruction there just in case you forget, because I remember I would always forget when I was learning how to use this program. And you can also, you can save your project, save project as, and that's also important to save every once in a while. Yeah, if not going to edit on your phone, you will use your phone to edit in the future. Yeah, sure. Yeah, if Andrew could do a quick few minutes on how to use an app.
Joining now, so
yeah. If you're on iPhone, iMovie is really good, but if you're on Android, Andrew's going to show you what to use.
yeah, iMovie is just Apple. It's fine, but I'll show you once I remember how
Yeah.
to do this.
And editing on your phone is a good option when you're on the road. Like if you're going on a holiday and you don't want to take a laptop with you, then you can, yeah, make a whole movie on your phone. And you know, I remember being on a school camp and we were on hiking camp and we made a bunch of little horror movies at night on our phones, just with different apps and the camera to edit them. So yeah, it's also a lot easier to upload to social media or like Instagram or TikTok if you're on your phone too. So I'm going to stop my share on this screen. And then if Andrew would join.
That's good. I thought it tried to force me to buy it for a second.
Oh no, that's a bit of a worry.
It let me in, so that's positive. That's positive. All right, let's just go back to Zoom.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good time saver as well, editing on your phone. I think if anyone has any more questions, I can go over those. Here we go. Cool. I'll mute.
This is sort of just something I whipped up. This is the face swap app that you can use as well if you want to be funny about it. So I'm using, what program is this? It is, what was it called again? 1 second. UCut Video. This is probably the easiest one I've found so far, editing wise. Basically, opens up like this as normal. When you go add new project, go new project, select whatever video you have in your library. So, but you filmed and stuff, it's the same as you did before. And yep, we go back into the one I did before. Project in there. And then yeah, you've got basically you got your same tools that you had in another program. You got your trim, so you can take sections off it. If you want to start from a certain place, you can take it off and go cut, split. Or trim. What's the difference between AD? I'm just going to ask you because.
Yeah, editing on your phone and iPad, to answer that question. Yeah, most of the apps I'm assuming would be the same. iMovie on iPad, it's probably laid out a bit differently. But yeah, if you're on a tablet, it'll be the same principles. It might just look a little bit different, and the buttons might be a bit easier to use because you've got more screen space.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it is a bit more difficult on the phone, see, because you got less space and stuff. But I mean, if you really want to give it a go at some point, then yeah, go for it. But yeah, so you got your trim tool as normal. You got your music tool. So if you want to add some music on top of it, most of these will probably be paid ones. So I would say My Music, and then you can go into any personal music inside there, add a track over the top of it, and you can adjust it. Let's see if I can. And this will really work very well. Use that. Cool, and you can drag and drop and move the actual audio around like that. You just hover over it, tap it, and then drop it. So this is basically a timeline like you normally have it. And then you have your filters. So this is like basically more simple way of doing DaVinci Resolve, where you could actually change everything manually. This is just, if you really want to make it black and white, then you just drop it to black and white, nice and easy. Or you can change them effectively any way you want to do them. Though it's a little bit more limited than DaVinci Resolve.
I will just add, if you're on the filter page, you can click adjust and adjust some of those contrast and saturation settings manually as well.
Yeah, I think you might be able to do it. No, actually, there's no manual way, I think, can you?
It was under the filter and then adjust button, but that's fine. You don't need to go over it.
Yeah. Was it in here? Was it?
No, before. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's not particularly that. So you got your text as well. So this is the same as we did before, creating like a title. So you won't be able to actually do as much as you did before, but you can basically stretch it. Oh, you can actually tilt it as well, which is kind of cool. But I don't think you can key it in. Let's have a look. No, I'd say it's just a normal title basically. Actually, yeah. I probably should have delved into a little bit more, because I'm finding things that I haven't found before. Looks like there's animation for a text as well. That's kind of cool. Yeah, nice. You see, I'm very well prepared for this. And you got color for that too. And then we have, get out of, save that. Not what I wanted to do. Okay, that was the export button, the save button's export button.
We've got a question in the chat. Andrew, are you able to remove the watermark, the Reface app watermark that sort of sits on top of the video?
Oh, yeah. So that's only because the video I filmed was using Reface.
Right. So there normally wouldn't be a watermark.
Yeah, it's just because I haven't paid for Reface. It's basically, that's what you do when you don't pay for stuff. That you can watermark. If you're filming your own content, there'd be no watermark. This isn't inside. This isn't from this app. This is from a different app. So it's completely separate. Was the other question from Caleb for this one as well?
Yeah, Caleb, to answer your question, if you're working on iMovie, I would recommend just doing the whole thing in there. It might be a little bit hard to move a project from one to another. You can do it. I know you can do it with Final Cut, so I'm assuming you can do it with iMovie as well, but that's probably going to take a little bit of time to run through today. But if you're set on using DaVinci and you've already started in iMovie, send me an email and I'll run you through how to do that.
Yeah, so as I said, like most of the stuff in here is pretty self-explanatory. Just click on things, muck around with it. If you don't like it, go back, cancel it. But it's pretty simplified version than DaVinci Resolve. But, I don't know if there's any other particular questions that if you're going to be filming on phone, do you want me to tell you, or everyone's?
It's always a good idea as well to have an app like this on your phone, just in case you're out and you want to make something quickly.
Yeah, something nice and quick, just to test something out, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if there's no questions for that, I might just quickly go back to the slideshow. Oh yeah, you've got that here.
Yes, we got a quality, and obviously, yeah, the free version only goes up to 720p.
Yeah, and that was UCut app.
Yeah, that'd be the app. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you can use the YouTube app to upload it to YouTube. It lets you upload any video file in your library. Yeah. Or yep. All right, I'll go back to this slideshow if that's all right. Continue. PowerPoint, here we go. All right, so that's phone editing, and that's pretty much everything for the lesson content today. So feel free to write any questions in the chat, but otherwise I'm just going to wrap up. So the homework for this week is finish your filming. Hopefully you've started already, but just finish that off in the next few days if you can. I'd recommend leaving yourself a few days for editing. But yeah, so once you can start and finish your editing in Resolve or on your phone, or if you're on Mac, you can use iMovie or Windows Movie Maker as well. If you're on Windows and you don't want to try out Resolve, that's totally fine too. And then once you're done, just upload the file, your export file, like that, the mug.mov one that we had. Either upload it to YouTube, or if you've got a Google Drive or a OneDrive folder, feel free to upload it to there and send us a link. And that way it's still a private upload. If you're on YouTube, you can mark it as unlisted, so only people with the link can see it. That might be a good idea. But yeah, if you upload it to one of those and then send us a link, that way we'll have it ready for next week for the screening. So yeah, if your films, I wasn't here for last week for this class. Okay, no worries. Maybe just send us an email. We're making short films, so if you want to write a script, a short script, and then make a film, basically, and you'll go out and film that script. So you might have a bit of work to do to catch up, but that's fine. Maybe send an email through, and I can just run you through what we missed, what we did last week, and what you've missed. So yeah, once you've got everything done, I'd suggest leaving it for a day and then coming back and seeing if you want to change anything. Sometimes you change your mind on certain parts after a day or two. So if you've got time to do that, I'd recommend that. But yeah, if your film is like more than four minutes, then probably think about cutting it down a little bit. Unless you think it really needs that amount of time, you might find that it might be a little bit long. So you want to make sure that it stays interesting for the whole time. And that way we're not spending too long on certain films when we screen next week. Yeah, thanks, Cara, for putting my email address in there. But yeah, send me an email if you've got any questions or if you need help with anything. I'm more than happy to run you through how to do anything if you've forgotten on Resolve, because I know that's probably a lot to take in. But yeah, my email's in the chat, so write that down and then feel free to get in touch at any point. That's probably everything that I need to go over this week. So yeah, once you're exported, upload it, send us a link. And if you're not finished by the time we're screening next week, that's fine. You can present a work in progress if you'd like. And yeah, next week we're going to be watching everyone's films that they've made. So look forward to that. It should be fun. There's not going to be too much, there's not really going to be much of a lesson in there. It's more just going to be a time to sit back and see what everyone's come up with. So that should be fun. Get yourself some popcorn ready, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all then.